Is this the Rookie CEO podcast?
Yeah, I think we're in the right place.
Oh, Hev, it's recording. This is Fuzz.
And I'm Hev, and you're listening to the Rookie CEO podcast.
Today, yet again, we are joined by the amazing Keeley Walker from Brisan Accountancy, talking about improving your cash flow, which, again, I think this is an amazing thing that we kind of overlook when we're starting a business. We don't really think too much about cash flow. Like, did you think about cash flow, Heather, when you started your business?
I didn't until 1 month I had no money and I was like, oh, bollocks.
What has gone wrong?
Because there was 1 month I just forgot to send out all the invoices and I thought, well, I've got no money. Is it all gone?
And then you quickly got someone to send the invoices for you.
Yeah, but then it's like with invoices, they're not necessarily going to pay that day. Yeah. So if you send them late, they're going to pay late.
Oh, that reminds me, actually. It's the 21st of October for the people actually listening.
So you're invoicing.
Bit of behind the scenes there. Yeah, it's invoice time. But yeah, I think that's like obviously you're the expert really, but I learned that the hard way 100%. Like invoice and like we've got a couple of really big businesses that pay like 30 days.
Yeah.
And you kind of overlook that because those big clients, you've probably invested a lot of money in whatever, like the costings behind that service, and then you realise, oh, that's impacted cash flow.
I mean, sometimes it's 30 days after the month of invoicing as well, and even larger companies would typically be 60 to 90 days, which just slaughters cash flow for an SME. Definitely,
but I think what has helped me is giving like a sustainable sort of. I normally put like a 2-week amount due date on there. So it's kind of like I think it's quite reasonable. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
So, yeah, I guess it depends. Are you billing in advance, in arrears? 2 weeks probably quite reasonable, especially on the assumption people might not pay you in 2 weeks. They might pay you in 30 days. So it's probably important to know. So for new businesses, bad cash flow is the number one killer of new businesses. And that's the number one reason why new business fails. And even existing established businesses, if the cash isn't there and you've got to pay things, it escalates and gets out of hand. So it really is. I don't want to use the word cash is king. We'll say queen.
Cash is queen.
Cash is queen.
Slay.
Like I know I ended up switching it. So I used to invoice at the end of the month after I'd done the work, but I switched to invoicing at the start of the month and it was due then mid-month, and that helped improve my cash flow. Would you kind of lean people more towards one or the other, or do you think it's kind of really personal preference?
Personal preference, I guess. So we split our fees monthly, so we've got that regular cash flow, which still quite a lot of accountants that will just after year end do your accounts, send you a big bill, which I find it very hard, probably for the client to predict cash flow, but also as the business doing the billing to predict the cash flow coming in. So I think if you can break it down, and as well, if you're actually billing up front for the month, that puts you in good stead, because if you don't get paid, then
you don't do the work.
Absolutely. So then you've got that. But obviously that's easy if you're a service business. If you're selling stuff, widgets or any goods, then you've obviously got an outlay of stock up front. So if your customer hasn't paid you, you've still got to pay your suppliers. Your suppliers don't care that your customer hasn't paid you. And that's really challenging for businesses. So getting that balance, I would say, of whether you need to consider taking deposits, shortening your lead times, certainly taking advantage of any supplier credit if that's available. So if you have a due date with your supplier, don't feel the need to pay them as soon as they invoice. Use their payment terms just to make it easier for you as well.
I think we're so typical to people please. I think we've touched on this on quite a lot of episodes, where we're like, even though we received an invoice for a due date of like the end of the month, but we know it's a small business, we're like, we want to pay them now, we want to be seen, like love me, but actually sometimes we can shoot ourselves in the foot. It's just balancing that. It's not like balancing the books, I guess. But one thing that I'm really intrigued to hear is, let's just say there's a company out there that they're due a big lump sum. A lot of it could be overdue invoices, a lot of it because they've not finished the job yet, but they need some money. Like, would you advise a business loan, a short-term business loan, or is that quite a slippery slope? How would you advise to someone who knows they need to improve, who've seen the opportunity and are going to improve, but they just need to fix themselves there and then?
Yeah, so I think if you're in a position where you need to fix yourselves there and then, it's borderline, I guess, desperation, and that's what puts you at risk of going out and getting a loan that's an incredibly high interest rate, or getting into a load of credit that it's going to be hard for you to pay off. So I like to take a more holistic approach. Obviously, if you've got to pay bills, you've got to pay bills, but I'd always opt for, if you really need to take out that, then look at the most cost-effective solution for you. So whether that does mean, can I get a 0% interest-free credit card, for example? So there's a lot of credit cards for companies that you'll get loyalty points on as well, and it will give you that ability to, you can pay stuff.
You can pay people with that as well?
Yeah, so, it depends. So if you had payment links on your invoices, Sam, then you could pay via credit card.
Okay,
if the individual, but you obviously can't make a bank transfer.
No.
Well, I guess there's another thing, like with Cashflow, like we've said before, having these kind of payment links, credit card links, or like things like Go Cardless, these direct debits, that is going to help your cash flow.
Absolutely, yeah. So particularly if you're buying stuff, and you can get like a low interest opportunity to pay a bit later. I don't want to encourage finance or that debt lifestyle, because it can equally be quite anxiety inducing for businesses, and no one really likes it. But if you want to keep things sustainable, you really have to consider that.
And so you just go back to that zero payment link thing then. Do you have to pay like a fee like you would with Go Cardless, because it's a payment link, because you're paying online? Is there a
so
fee?
The person receiving the money will suffer the fee. So whether they charge it extra, so I guess that's an additional cost.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
And what is that? Is that normally like Go Cardless? Because it's quite expensive, I think. It's like 1.something%, right?
Yeah, I think most of the competitors are probably along the same lines. So if it's new to you, then there's you can probably get like a cheaper deal or get it free for a certain period.
Okay.
So take advantage of that. I think weigh up your options. If you look at everyone you owe money to, is there anyone you can get a payment plan with? So HMRC, you can absolutely get payment plans with. With HMRC, as long as you speak to them before the tax is due, whether it's VAT, corporation tax, self-assessment, they're shockingly reasonable.
Hey Hev, have you heard of IT Managed Services? They're an IT support service based in Kent.
Yeah, I've been with them for over a year now. I love being able to just call them at any point and they take over my computer and fix the issue so much quicker than spending hours on Google.
Why have you kept that to yourself all this time? Right, I need to sign up to these guys. What's their website?
It's it-ms.co.uk, or you can call 01634 218 362.
Yeah.
I actually think that's something that came out of COVID, where people were really, really struggling for cash flow. HMRC have really eased up, and you can get probably 3, 6, 12-month payment terms.
Okay, wow.
But with that, it's like, but those payment terms, you can't then miss those repayments, because then they're not sympathetic.
No. So if you miss a payment, then they reserve the right to cancel the whole payment plan and collect it all up front. And one thing they also want you to do is stay on top of other payments that are due. So if you've got a monthly PAYE bill, but you still have a debt from last year, they're going to want you to pay the monthly ones going forward plus the debt from last year. So
it's a slippery slope, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a slippery slope. It's a means to an end for some, and I've got some clients. So with corporation tax, for example, they'll they'll set up a payment plan every single year just because they rather have the money in the bank. It's quite scary if you've got to pay HMRC a lump sum. I'm not advocating just not paying HMRC on time. Obviously, best practice do that. But actually, what's important is that your business is sustainable. So, yeah, thinking about what you've got to pay out and how's the best way to manage that cash flow.
One thing that I learned when starting a business is one thing I was kind of like flabbergasted. Gee, I don't know why I just said that. I've never said that word in my life, but I was flabbergasted.
I didn't realise how eccentric you
No,
were.
flabbergasted. I've got a big vocabulary.
Have you been watching The Traitors?
I have been watching
Ah,
The Traitors.
that's Kate Garraway said flabbergasted.
Sorry. The reason why, is because like you got a debit. We've all got personal debit cards, right? We've never even thought that would cost us money. But then as soon as you need a debit card for business, they're all trying to charge you a ridiculous amount of money for it. And I do think, I don't know, that really annoyed me.
It annoys me as well.
And then I realised actually there are services out there that are free, and you're only paying extra for those additional add-ons. So for instance, linking it to a Xero account, for instance, they'll limit that unless you pay an X amount of money a month, which is kind of fair enough in a way.
Yeah.
But then you could link a normal personal debit account for free anyway, can't you? Pretty sure with Xero or not?
If you're a sole trader, and I don't work in the banking industry, but I have known clients that if they're running a non-business personal account as a business, the banks aren't stupid, so they pick up. And I've known people who the bank have written to them and said what's going on.
Unreal.
And if you're a limited company, then that's a separate legal entity to your personal banking card.
I just find it very confusing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there are major benefits that you won't get from a personal debit card. So, for instance, like the Rookie CEO account, the reason why I was more than happy to pay business fees on that is that you can get two cards. So then you got a card and I've got a card, and it just works out a lot better that way. It's a lot easier to manage the business.
I bank, not for Ricky, but we'll use that. But I bank with Starling. Because I'm a sole trader at the minute, I'm going limited. But my sole trader account, I didn't. There was no fees attached with Starling.
Yeah, so there are definitely free options out there. But
and I think Starling are pretty good because and actually Monzo are the same, but they have your pots for your taxes and you can put money aside, and that really helps planning for cash flow when you are actually building that little fund. Whether it's for a rainy day or for the tax. The key is as well having an idea of what those numbers are, so you know what you should be putting aside.
Yeah, and they do also support with cash flow, I think, like with these paid services anyway. So like for instance Monzo, like they do give you a heads up on like this is how amount of due. There's not enough money in the bank account. Basically, they'll give you that warning.
This is off topic, but out of curiosity, so I know like with Starling, they have a built-in version of like their version of Xero and stuff.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on kind of doing that within
They all
the
do,
bank?
don't they?
Because I think like Lloyd's have one as well.
Do that as well.
Yeah, so Tide, I think Monzo.
Monzo do it kind of.
Yeah, Monzo you get like a free Xero license, I think, for 6 months.
You do,
or something. But yeah, there are a lot of solutions out there. Some of the more popular cloud softwares originated from. They were built by banks, and then they sort of got sold on, but. I think because there was obviously 10, 15 years ago, there was a big need for these solutions and there was a big competitive market for business banking. I personally think it's died a little bit since. It used to be that banks couldn't do enough for you. Now, obviously with the competitor banks coming in, there are more digital solutions. And people don't want to spend a lot of money. So if you've got to pay £10 a month for a bank account, then to get a free bit of software that you can send some invoices out, it's a pretty good solution.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm not sure if it's I'm not sure if it's Making Tax Digital compliant. That would be the one to check.
That's a really good thing.
Yeah,
it's true. So okay. What we normally end the episodes with are just some tips for our listeners. So what would you advise from first of all starting a business? So any sort of generic service or trade or whatever, what processes they need to be put in place, but also fast forward they're in this situation where their cash flow is poor, how to recover.
Yeah. So if you're setting up your business, or even if you don't have it already, have clarity over what you need as an individual, because ultimately that's probably why you're in business, because you want to earn money as an individual. So know what you need
The targets.
to take. Know your target, know your individual budget. If you can leave your tax in the business and don't take in excess of what you need, that's really going to sustain that growth. So if you're then building up cash in the bank, you've then got cash flow to invest and grow your business. So think about that. Think about your payment terms, and then your processes to collect. If you can use a payment system, or if you need to escalate and go down the credit control route. So I have I guess a bit of a pessimistic view on it. So think about it in advance. Don't just assume your clients are going to pay you all on time. Think about the lead times and potential cash flow pinches. So for example, I worked with someone who was billing I think they were billing their clients on a weekly basis, but they were having to pay the staff on a weekly basis as well. Startup.
So I fell behind a bit.
Yeah, well, it was a startup business. They'd put, I think, around £20,000 to £30,000 in a business from their individual personal funds. And I said to them, I think you need to look at a solution. They ended up finding that, that initially they were confident they were going to get paid on time. And I said, that's fair enough, but I think you might be short-sighted here. So they ended up going down an invoice finance solution where they could basically collect the cash from their invoices when they were raised, 80% of it, pay it to the staff, everyone gets paid, costs them a bit of money, but then the cash flow's there and it keeps your business rolling.
Nice.
So proactive thinking is probably what to take from that.
And then last tip for the people that are stuck in the middle of it right now, what would you advise them on how to get out of this with cash flow?
I think talk to someone. There's a lot of shame when it comes to debt and feeling overwhelmed by it all. So if you don't have an accountant, speak to someone. There's probably a lot of people in business that you can rely on and speak to. Find out how other people are doing it, peer groups, Rookie CEO.
Networking.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, get along to the Rookie CEO.
That's a really good answer, actually.
Yeah.
Rookie CEO. Thank you so much, Keeley, for coming on again. I really appreciate it. And thanks for listening, guys. We'll see you again next week.
Thanks
Thank
for having
you.
me.
See
Bye.
you later. Bye bye.